second presentation of our summer solstice Bosnian Pyramid Conference, Tour and the Festival 2025. I have a great pleasure to introduce our two keynote speakers, Dr. James J. Hurtak and Dr. Desiree Hurtak. Dr. J.J. Hurtak holds two doctorates, one from University of California, another one from University of Minnesota. He is the founder of the Academy for Future Science. He's been present on all continents with his work, anywhere from the ancient civilizations, social sciences, acoustic investigations, to the many initiatives for the world peace, man who's been holding a lot of humanitarian events in Africa, South America, and Asia. He's been getting a great number of awards from different fields, from social sciences, to the movies. He's been in contact with great many leaders, again from different fields, from the astronomy to ancient civilizations, physics, quantum physics, and other fields. He's author of more than 20 books, and through his work, he's known really on all continents. He's been on many media, he's done many interviews. So I'm really extremely honored to have him for the second time here at the heart of the Bosnian Pyramids. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Sam.
Dr. Desiree Hurtak, his partner, lifelong, but partner very important because you will see tonight how the team functions, and they are partners on many levels. She has her master's and her doctor's in social sciences. She is a co-founder of the Academy for the Future Science. She's been very active also in many fields, from the ancient civilizations, from the humanitarian work, presence on many continents, the movies. She's getting awards for her movies. She's getting books written alone or together with some other co-authors. And really, when they perform with their presentations, you will see the wonderful harmony of male and female energy. And now I would like them to take over, and I hope you will all enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you once again.
So tonight we're talking mainly on pyramids, and as you can see, we actually have this book. I don't think that Dr. Sam knew about it, and we're going to give him a copy at the end of the evening. It's called Giza's Industrial Complex, and it was co-written with our friend James Brown, who's a contractor. So he had gone also, like us, in the 70s and 80s to the Great Pyramid. He looked at it from a very structural foundation. He realized that there's much more behind the scenes.
Yes, this book also has the actual pictures of the finding of the tomb of Osiris. 2 years before Zahi Hawass announced it to the world on Fox television. He said, by the way, there was a group 2 years before. He didn't name our group, but he was obviously referring to us because we had leading geologists, archaeologists, Egyptologists with us.
Yes,
And we were able to bring cameras under the ground. So the whole finding is recorded on film.
Right, we were part of the Shore Expedition. This is a philanthropist who's always been interested in Egypt, and he funded the entire project. It's not easy to get permits to do these things.
And so
in
my
Egypt.
background, as Dr. Sam has mentioned, we cover many disciplines. I began as a young scholar, studying Egyptology with Dr. Otto Schaden from the University of Minnesota, who was one of the main investigators of the Valley of the Kings. Klaus Baer at the University of Chicago, who worked with ancient documentation of Upper Egypt. And I was a young student of Mircea Eliade, who was the Einstein of comparative religion at the University of Chicago. But the more I studied, I realized classical Egyptology was not on the right track, was not going deep enough and wide enough. And so, also as a student of Oriental philosophy and religion, I began to use mantras in my meditations. And at one point, over 50 years ago, I used a combination of energy mantras, and I was mentally taken into another dimension. That is another aspect that some of you know, because our work at the Academy for Future Science is science guided by consciousness, where we bring together the analytical side of the brain, the left, with the multidimensional side of the spiritual, the musical, the right. And you cannot understand our documentation or our books without putting both sides of the human creation together.
So Dr. Hurtak had this unique experience where he saw several of the things we'll talk about tonight. And one of which was that there were, and came out in the 1970s, in 1973 is when he had his experience. Natural time warp areas, he drew this, and others like Beth Hagens actually spun off from that, but also artificial time warp areas used by the Brotherhood. So there's basically two aspects of it. Now,
to say it simply, Gaia had a geometric mathematical pattern, very important, without which we could not understand the cycles of repetition, nor the structures of philosophy. In practical language, for those who come from the Western biblical tradition, it means that we have a Bible within a Bible of mathematics and music. And so I retranslated the whole Bible from the ancient manuscripts, and I documented things that actually are in the archives in Israel being studied by the scholars. This is, shall we say, information of the future regarding the return of the brothers of light, because situations on our planet unfortunately will go in different directions very quickly now. But before that happens, we will understand why these monuments of ancient knowledge are so important, because they exemplify the vibratory system of the human body.
Right, and so as we've been experiencing here in at the Bosnian Pyramids and other places in the tunnels, these are energy cavities and energy, we'll say vaults almost, or portals, that allow our body to connect with our higher self, that allow our body to connect with higher realities.
This was studied also in Russia by the Kurillian family. I had the privilege of being in contact with the Russian scientists very early in my life, the 1960s, and so I was aware that they were able to show scientifically what the Buddhist philosophers and psychologists also knew from a much earlier tradition, that we are biotransducers, we are vibratory systems. We are a microcosmic envelope of what is happening in the larger geometry of life.
Right, and the water here is for a reason, as we'll see as we start developing. But one other point Dr. Hurtak had in the Keys of Enoch is that not what Graham Hancock said, although we agree with what he said, that the three pyramids do have an alignment to Orion, but he was told that the King's Chamber has a, instead of an air shaft, as everyone calls it, a star shaft that goes to Orion and Sirius on one side. From the Queen's Chamber, Sirius, and the other is Alpha Draconis and Ursa Minor. So this is part of what he wrote about. Let's read.
In 1973, 28 years before Robert Lavelle, the Keys of Enoch are pictured at the top of the left side of the screen with the divine name or divine source. It was understood by the Semitic philosophers of the ancient Near East. The seven rays of light represent the seven chakras, or the energy thresholds of knowledge. Essentially, this is what is said in chapter or key 108. During previous geomagnetic cycles, the north star shaft of the Great Pyramid originally pointed towards the circumpolar star of Alpha Draconis, and the south star shaft pointed towards the Taurus Orion constellations. Keep this in mind in the context of what Dr. Sam also has illustrated in his recent findings. These alignments reveal the pyramid, namely the Great Pyramid, as an astrophysical computer showing the present life cycles as a recapitulation of the previous life programs upon the Earth. In fact, 6,000 years, but 36,000 years plus. So it's easy to make assertions, but in my experience, I was paraphysically taken beneath the pyramids of Giza, and I was shown a structure that was far beneath the pyramids and one that was close to the surface of the pyramids that would illustrate through sound vibration of how we were, so we say, being prepared to take a path in the direction of the dragon, which was an ancient symbol in most cultures for the downward and upward spiral of life, or to be connected with the swordsman or the sign of the shepherd from Orion, the stars. The Arabic historians call them Takan, Anotakan, Anolam.
Now later on, Linda Shelley, who was a famous Mesoamerican scholar, actually also understood. She said this is what the Mayans, really a very ancient culture, understood. They had actually the turtle, which they saw as connected with one of the main, we'll say, god figures of their cosmology on one side, and then they also acknowledged the Ursa Major and Draco constellation on the other. And the seven Macau, the Big Dipper, was all connected with this. So the Mayans had the same cosmology as we've been talking about. Egypt and the Mayan are intertwined in many levels.
So the macaw is the sacred bird of Honduras, of Mexico, Guatemala. It represents really the equivalent of the sacred birds that we are told about in ancient texts of India, Egypt, and beyond.
And according to Linda, the double-headed serpent, and we have two serpents here, as you'll see that, or two dragons in the Bosnian, but they have the double-headed serpent was the ecliptic for the way the planet rotated. Now, how does this work in reality? Well, you can see the fact that this is our system, and you have Orion, and actually connected with Sirius, and you'll see also the Pleiades in one aspect, and on the other side, literally, of the constellation sphere, or the sky sphere, you have Draco, Ursa Minor, Ursa Major. These are all somewhat connected. That's why it's, let's see if I can do this. Yeah, Ursa Minor and Draco together, Ursa Major over there. So basically, the pyramids are alignments, and we're going to be talking more about that.
And the mathematical star map is the journey of the soul of the spirit. In connection with Orion, of course, as many of you know, Sirius is important for triangulation, and beyond this, there are other triangulations, too numerous to talk about in the brief overview. But there is this dialectic between the forces of Draco, the dragon symbol, and the forces, what you call negative entropy, the forces of positive change, we would call positive centropy, the electrification of matter.
Anyway, look at the alignment, which we'll talk about more again. Sirius, Belt of Orion, to M45, as we discussed yesterday night.
So another colleague of ours, the late Dr. Patrick Flanagan, worked with the Academy many years ago. He realized if you put together a pyramidal grid, you get exceptional energy fluxes, as we see here. Why is this so important? Because most Egyptologists, in my logic, are romantic historians looking only at one pyramid or one geometry. They do not see the combination of the story of how collective or synergized energy can open up a gateway to another level or another dimension.
And as some of you maybe know, the work that was done at ITMO University, which is St. Petersburg National Research University, and the Laser Centrum of Hanover, so as they were showing, they didn't actually take the pyramid, but they made a model of the pyramid. And they showed the amazing energy just from the actual geometry that's there, the angles and everything related. So you can see the names of
the first multipolar resonances and energy concentrations is seen here in the descriptive micrographs that are expanded
Yeah. It is revealed that the pyramid chambers can collect and concentrate electromagnetic energy. See, they're looking at how these chambers are holding the energy.
For both surrounding conditions. In the case of the pyramid, on the substrate, at the shorter wavelengths, the electromagnetic energy accumulates in the chambers, providing local spectral maxima for electric and magnetic fields. So you see this, for example, with the Lama for 230 meters. You see a different expansion of the complete field as opposed to those that are diminished or not relevant.
And this is just one section, but technically you can also see the energy going around the pyramid also on the outside. So it's not just the chambers, but they're saying there's a reason why the chambers are placed there, but there's also energy all around the pyramid, especially in the upper side. So that's very similar to what Dr. Sam.
So what you're saying, besides going around the substructure, is also important here, as we see. And on the micrographs, to see the composite, of course, is a journal of physics, applied physics, that allows us to see the application of what is called remote sensing tools. We were able to get permission of the Department of Antiquities in Egypt to make the first thorough investigations mythologically and biomusically in all of the chambers. So these are the geometries or the orbs that appear when we were able to use certain Egyptian, Hebrew, Aramaic mantras in combination. It's like a musician using several instruments. And so we see here some of our work that is actually recorded. So we have had to wait some 35 years to bring this information out. We're bringing it out now because we're going into, as you will see in the other documents, an unbelievable change that is shaking up the Middle East as well as the powers of the Far East. And I'm speaking of Iran, China, Japan. All of these traditions are very valuable, but only when they work in concert, in harmony, do they have value. So this is our book, Giza's Industrial Complex, and understanding how the Egyptians were able to use hydrogen energy, solar energy collectors, hydraulic water energy, and another variety at the Giza location, which then not one system but several systems.
So from our research, there is water that, strangely enough, goes from the Nile, which is lower, but comes all the way up under the plateau, even underneath the Great Pyramid.
As it is said in the Keys of Enoch, the 7 major temples along the Nile represent the 7 chakras, and they're all using hydraulic energy.
So
we were able then to go to what is so-called Tomb of Osiris in 1996-97. This is what I saw in my paraphysical experience. We were able to use paraphysical remote viewing with non-paraphysical remote sensing, ground penetrating radar, GPR.
And if you want to know where it is, I mean, you can see it's almost at a corner of the Great Pyramid on one side and down the causeway in front of the Middle Pyramid on the other. And then you go down 30 meters, 100 feet. First of all, Dr. Hurtak is really well known for his work with ground penetrating radar. We've done it in Egypt, we've done it in other locations. And so we actually took the ground penetrating radar
It's an
down
SIR-3 unit that I'm carrying down there, and I'm pointing with my finger to the lid of the tomb of Osiris, because I was surrounded by guards, and I did not want to be prevented from doing research beneath the interior of the tomb area. We received permission to use cameras, to use sound, but we did not have sufficient, shall we say, green light permission to do the actual excavation. And thus Dr. Zahiwas took over our expedition, and we came up with a maze way of a variety of levels illustrated in our book, which shows the tomb of Osiris 30 meters plus deep on 3 different levels. At the bottom, you see the actual tomb itself with the moat of water, the structure of the 4 pillars, all illustrating different phases of science, not history, but science.
Okay, so it's called the Tomb of Osiris, but like Dr. Sam said, we don't think it was a tomb, but they like to call it a tomb because it has these 4 pillars around it. It's in the center of a position. Each one of these actually also have sarcophaguses in them, also with nothing in there. So what's interesting about this is what we're proposing. Now, we've worked in the field of energy technology, especially renewable energy technology. Dr. Hurtak, his organization, Renewable Energy Technology Symposium, was known in California for hosting large conferences on this. Our favorite technology is hydrogen energy. Everyone on this planet should be using hydrogen energy. And basically, what's it take to make hydrogen? It takes water. What else does it take to make hydrogen? Sun. Do they have sun in Egypt? Yes. And another thing that you can make really good processes for hydrogen is cotton. And if anyone has ever bought a sheet.
Giza cotton.
Yeah, Giza.
With the filters that we use for small adaptable systems. So Desiree was pointing to the second level where there are several actual tombs too large to be put in that position from the ordinary walkways that were provided above on the surface. So obviously they were dropped in place. There was a shall we say, architecture that was clearly in place for these tombs to be put such elevations, some 30 to 40 meters below the surface.
So yes, let's see. So
And
this
here
is
we have now
the
lid of the tomb as we found it.
So we actually don't think, also if you go to Saqqara, many people have been there, and we talked to one of our guys that have taken us around as a group, and he said when they opened the tomb, some of the tombs in Saqqara, they always thought the Apis bull was in there and wrapped and all this and that, but someone opened it, I think about probably 75 or closer to 100 years ago, and when they went in, they only found like chemistry. They only found like white powder. So we feel, and that's our premise, is that these technologies were used to store energy technologies like hydrogen gas or other gases that could be used in, and this has been shown by Eric von Däniken in his Dendera light bulb video. If you want to go see that, it's on the internet. Using a gas, you can actually light up the Dendera light bulb.
So what we see here is the fact that we had to bring down all of our light equipment. Through cables, we brought down the batteries, we brought down the computer workstation so we could have around-the-clock comprehension and analysis of what we found. Even though we were not permitted to go deeper, our ground-penetrating radar showed that there was even a deeper substructure to this.
So this, again, this is 30 feet down, 30 meters down, 100 feet. And we do feel that there's more underneath the ground of Egypt than above the ground. We just don't know how deep it can go. Here's a few more of our pictures. We did ground penetrating radar as well on all the walls of the Osiris tomb. So here's the technology we brought down there. And this is back in '97 before we had a lot of really modern stuff that maybe even today would work. But we used sonar as well because there was water down there. So here's the actual center of the area. When we found it in '97, they've now the water level, we went down because we took a tour group about 2-3 years ago. Some of our friends were there with us. Now the water level is up to probably this guy's foot. So it's actually quite high. We were fortunate to go down there when it was a dry period. But you can see he's sitting on a pillar, but really behind him as well is a square edge. So these things were actually manufactured, made, again, 30 meters down under the Giza plateau. We do believe it was a place for storage. We'll show you some other pictures that we'll take.
So we used also sonar to look underneath the water and to look at the possibility that there was a hydraulic system built. Well, the Germans a few years ago came out with a film called Giza Cheops Lüge, or the Lie of Cheops. Over 20 engineers from Germany and Austria and myself participated in this film, showing how water hydraulics were used to build the pyramid in stages, which would allow a perfect horizontal structure of massive size and direction,
And that's
evenly built again throughout the 17-kilometer area of the Giza Plateau.
And again, if you Google how are the pyramids built today, they are telling you water was used for that.
Filippo and Corrado Alanga have come up with an interesting interpretation of what is beneath the Giza area using satellite systems of remote sensing. They were been able to look, as they claim, much deeper beneath. The structure reported that they exhibited and measured
2 kilometers.
is some 2 kilometers beneath the surface and spans the area beneath all 3 pyramids of the Giza Plateau complex.
So what do we feel about their information? Again, as Dr. Sam said today, actually Dr. Hurtak in the 1980s wrote 3 papers on synthetic aperture radar. One was with JPL NASA scientists about the water channels in North Africa. So he's very well aware of SAR. Again, they're little pixels. What they're claiming is that they are expanding. They use an algorithm. Someone even said they're probably better off with AI than our own algorithms, but whatever. To expand that little pixel beyond the going deeper and deeper. If they had said 100 or 200 feet, or even 300-400 feet below the pyramid, or even below the sand. Below the sand, then you're not going through tons and tons of rock. But if they're saying below the pyramid and going down 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles, I mean
That's
is
below the water line.
That's really probably
So here we see,
not
yeah,
that
this
acceptable.
this is, I would say, a debate that's continuing behind the scenes.
And some of this, what they said inside the Great Pyramid and what they said inside Khafre Pyramid, that's kind of interesting. What they're saying this far deep to us is a little bit difficult because you can find water. Again, going back into this, you will now find water. This is only 100 feet down. You now find water. So unless they're using water, which is a plus for our book, because we say you need water to make hydrogen gas, to make the energy technology available, then it's kind of an interesting scenario. We still don't think it's that far down.
But this is what we have came up with in our findings. The hydrogen fuel cell gives us what, Desiree?
Well, I mean, if you look here, there's a missing labyrinth by Al Fayoum, and it supposedly has 3,000 rooms on different levels, right? I mean, you don't have 3,000 rooms on different levels unless you have some sort of technology that really is what we're talking about.
3,000 rooms could be 3,000 cells, each being 1 volt, so you're looking at a system of 3,000 volts.
Yeah, so water, we believe, was used to create the energy technology needed for much of what was done. Let's take one more look at the Saqqara Step Pyramid, the Zoser Pyramid. You know, it's not just a couple of holes that take you down. In fact, it's beautiful. We also were down there and saw there's like looks like a tomb at the center of this. You look over and you see it, but there's much more for it. It actually kind of reminds you of what goes on with Bosnia, all the different channels and corridors. I mean, they were using energy technology to create what they needed. And we'll show you in a little bit. We're going to do a meditation first, but we'll show you the Grand Gallery.
That we're looking at the foundations of a much earlier civilization. The Egyptian civilization was secondary to a much earlier civilization.
And when we get to the Grand Gallery, we'll see that on each side of the Grand Gallery, parallel perfectly to each other, are cut out squares.
Now,
if you put in anodes and cathodes into those squares, you would be creating hydrogen gas if you had that. So let's go on for a little meditation now, because we've been talking for a while. This is sounds.
This is the meditation
inside the King's Chamber.
inside the King's Chamber. In the name of the Divine Father, the Divine Mother,
the Christus that was manifested in Jesus. Yet the sacred space be blessed always and all of
I'm speaking now of the prayers
the gates of wisdom may be
to
opened,
awaken
the treasuries of the
the
deep,
seals,
the chambers of the deep, the capstone, the mysteries
to energize
open all 24
the complex
this sacred
underground structures
coming of the hierarchy of hierarchies. Yogi Vote, Yogi Shin Vote.
and to illustrate the light from above. Go inside the pyramids. Take a deep breath. Feel the perfect resonance. stars.
Actually, so
Imsak.
So this
So this is research that I did, and I'm a music specialist, singing at one time with a pretty powerful voice. At the right time inside the Grand Gallery, the sounds became so powerful that the overtones reflected off the walls created standing columnar waves of energy and suddenly burst into light that moved up and down the corridor. So you're seeing authentic pictures of this research, this music that you just heard that's available through our academy. These were sounds that actually perplexed the Egyptian guards who were with us. They said they never saw anything like this, that the interior eye of the pyramid lit up in light. And that's the whole idea. If you read the Bible, at the end of the book of Genesis, the body of Jacob is put into the foundations of the cemetery, the royal cemetery, and when the words are used of lamentation, certain events take place. So whether you want to accept this research as connected with the gods of Orion or some other source, even the biblical record speaks of the importance of using sound waves.
Right, and so for what I was talking about in terms of anodes and cathodes, anyone who's into technology, you can see these square cutouts on both sides. They're parallel to each other. If you had that and you had water, you could probably be producing hydrogen gas. We think it's a dual-use system. So it wasn't not related to initiation. It was certainly related to that, but also you can use hydrogen actually for health. You can use it for agriculture, and of course you can use it for technology.
So this is initiation on many levels. This is what you're saying. Not just ritualism, but the use of paraphysics, musicology, and the use of psychology to elevate the mind to recognize evolution does not stop with Mother Earth. Our life and death cycle is too short.
So going on just south, so to speak, of Egypt, we're saying we're getting into right at the border of Egypt.
Sudan,
and
in the
Sudan
area called Napta, where we also had colleagues who carried out measurements of megalithic alignments.
Right, and so this is a special dated area, probably 7,500 BC. So technically, it can be much older. It's a type of mini kind of Stonehenge, obviously not 7,500 years ago. There's not a lot remaining, but if you look here, there's a lot of alignments, megalithic alignments. There was also the stone circle, cattle burials. So going back to 9,500 years, cattle burials. So they had a lot of different technology. Going further south, as you're going to see with Michael, and don't miss Michael's talk tomorrow, you go
We measured from Napta all the way down to Adam's calendar.
But that pretty much in alignment with Napta and with the Great Pyramid. You have 31 degrees in the Great Pyramid, 30 degrees 42 for Napta. You're getting down to Adam's calendar around 30 degrees and
With
plus.
only an 80-mile difference
And
to use the English system of measurement.
So just a quick picture that we visited his beautiful site.
And what is important about this location is it's connected with the alignment with the 3 stars in the belt of Orion. Here we have the heel stone, the Capitan of Mexico, Capitan Luis Lara March, who also worked behind the scenes with the Mexican government on the extraterrestrial spaceships that he saw.
But again, 5 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to see some great stuff coming out of Michael. But let's move on to something we're all more
And then we
familiar
go
with.
to similar interesting measurement systems in England, the Stonehenge connection, which we believe is a type of clock mechanism connected with Egypt. According to the keys of Enoch, the pre-scientists of Egypt were responsible for inspiring the building not only of Stonehenge, but Woodhenge and other places in Europe in concert with the Great Pyramid.
Right, and so what's around there, what's been taking place, and not every crop circle is coming from the heavens, if I can say that. Some are man-made. Unfortunately, anytime there's a good thing happening, whether it's the Jalisco stones in Mexico, whatever, people start making copies.
So what do we see here?
But we were actually here at the Barbary Castle, and that's in 2008, and the mathematics of this crop circle is really amazing. because it really does come down to 3.141592654.
You see this in the semicircles?
Yeah, so you got the 3 at the top, the 1, the 4, another 1, and then 5.
5, 9, 2. So these are very complex geometries.
Just to give you the distance from Cairo to Adam's calendar is around 8,000 kilometers.
So 8,000 kilometers, only a distance off of
Well, something like
point A
60.
to
We're-
point B, 80 miles.
Yeah, and we love South Africa.
Now wait till
Go
you
visit
see
my-
what we found in South Africa.
Yeah, in addition.
Because when I had the contact experience, I was shown all of these places to go to. So I had to work with British intelligence. I had to work with people in high estate that had the opportunity to allow us to have what we will call ground penetrating radar as well as satellite technology to look at these power points.
So a few other places, and you can see that they actually also are connected with sound. This is a kind of cymatics, if you're familiar. So if you have a sound, you'll get a geometry. If you have a geometry, you technically have a sound. So there's several different crop circles. This one was from 2021.
So these are like thumbprints of the gods, or the Elohim
And
in the
these-
biblical sense.
They seem to appear almost instantaneously. So the good ones, that is. So in other words, there's probably some sort of frequency, maybe even laser type of technology, but really just a frequency that then manifests on the earth. And here's a great one. We're going to just do a little mantra with this.
In 1996, as you see at the top, Stonehenge. And then you see underneath the interesting circular pattern of circles and concentric patterns.
I mean, you know, there are a few, like I said, that people make, and you can usually see which way the crop is going. And sometimes it doesn't even completely kill the crop when it's not human-made. So you can imagine making, someone couldn't have made this so close to the highway of Stonehenge. You know, this had to be kind of cosmically made. So let's,
again, the pattern is one of close to 1,000 that our colleague Colin Andrews, who worked with the British Army, documented beginning in the early 90s. Again, the keys of Enoch mentioned that there would be circular numbers that would be found connected with Stonehenge that would connect us with grid patterns throughout the planet. Essential tones would be called Uri tones, or a light.
yeah, but we
word.
can
The
do,
biblical word
Uri.
Ur means light.
So join us, we're going to say Uri tone, Uri, 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 Or.
I'm going to lead you, join if you wish. Uri ton, Uri, 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 Uri ton, 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 Uri, Uri, Uri. Now that's singing, not just opening the lips. All the major traditions of religion and philosophy know that without music, you're just dealing with words, abstractions. You have to energize the body. So my favorite psalm is Psalm 122. I was happy when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Meaning in my heart, there is the vibration of being with God. So I began to understand the higher spirituality and the higher science that traditions overlooked. Where religion and science became stratified in orthodoxy and not activated in the higher spirituality.
So just to say that, acknowledging we're here before, that's, although we still look as good, it could have been in 2013. So it was really great. I
And
can
when we
give you
did
that
our
picture if you
research, first time around, orbs of blue light appeared in the
need. In the
tunnels.
tunnels, yes. And we
And
had
a man by the name of Potter
Rob Potter.
took pictures of this. So
Yeah.
we've got the actual film.
Wow.
With blue orbs appeared wherever we were able to sing. So we know we're working on new tunnel systems here. I think there's upwards of 10, 12 tunnels.
Still more to be
It's a
found.
much bigger system than we
Well,
thought.
especially if you start counting between the pyramids, then you have.
Now the orientation of Bosnia connected with Turkey to the north and Romania to the east is important. There at Mount Nemu, In Turkey, of course, we find these interesting faces, Desiree.
Yeah, well, I just want to talk about, there's different types of pyramids, and this is Nemrut. And if you look at it, basically it's little stones. So every time you try to like move them, you just get more stones. It's just stones after stones after stones. But so this has to be a very, very, very ancient pyramid. And it was acknowledged probably later times where these heads and faces, one's a bird head, actually here's the bird head like Horus, was placed in front of that. So it's an amazing pyramid in Turkey, which people acknowledge, or don't acknowledge, I would say, but it's amazing. I've never seen something with so many little teeny stones. So
And then at the top we find gateways. This is suggesting different races or different god systems, if I can use this interchangeably in terms of cosmic race. Categories of cosmic intelligence connected with the pyramid structure here in Turkey, but we find it also in other parts of the world. They were all connected with a hierarchy of vibratory beings. And
so we also went to Göbekli Tepe, and before it was much better because it was open, but now they've closed it. But they're still amazing to see these huge stone blocks, stelas,
T-shaped, that have interesting geometries of a much earlier cycle of the zodiac. So we're going back not only 12,000 years, but according to Klaus Schmidt, who told me before he died, this is 16 to 20,000 years ago. That is to say, 4 to 5 times
that's
longer in linear calculation than the pyramid in Egypt. So there was obviously something greater in terms of the worldwide matrix of pyramids.
But like the tunnels that you see here, all these things were collapsed down. Everything was covered with these stones by hand. Well, we would say by hand unless they had a bulldozer, but basically they tried to protect this site from being known until what we feel is till today. So it's very, very interesting that only 1/10 of this site has actually been excavated. They think there's much, much, much more.
The T-shape is a very important known in a sense, but this is suggested that this T-shape represents a gate system because you find this also in other sacred geometries of the indigenous people. Again, I'm speaking of those that we represent in Brazil, in Argentina, in Colombia, in Venezuela.
Well, they're almost like spirals, and maybe people stood in front of them for ritual. Obviously, no one really knows. But now Dr. Jack wants to take us to
Well, my
Mars.
major contribution in pyramidology was the evidence of the pyramids in Elysium, Mars, Elysium Quadrangle. This is through my work in remote viewing. Remote viewing was considered pseudoscience until recent times, and I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Elizabeth Rauscher, the female mathematician who wrote 400 scientific papers. We published this book with Desiree called Mind Dynamics in Space and Time. This is all the top secret research at Stanford Research Institute. This is the real X-Files. This is the Bible, the real X-Files, where we were able to see under the ground, even under Novosibirsk, under the ground in Semipalatinsk in Russia, under the ground in Giza, Egypt. We knew where to go through remote viewing. So this is why there has to be the left and right hemisphere working together. The right hemisphere is remote viewing through the power of the mind and a higher level of vibration, which I'm illustrating. The left hemisphere is the mathematical measurement through radar or whatever system of mathematics and physics that one chooses.
And
Putting it together,
Yeah.
we were thus able to, through image enhancement, to understand that these pyramids in the Elysium Quadrangle were in mathematical sets. 3-sided and 4-sided and 5-sided pyramids in mathematical sets.
So, yes, and basically Dr. Jack knew that there were pyramids on Mars because he was told there were pyramids on other planets. And our associates, then when he contacted NASA, he said, do you have any record? And they said, by the way, we just got this information in and we're willing to share it. So, of course, this is really what it looks like on a larger scale.
On the magnification, we're talking about pyramids 500 times as larger than the pyramid in Egypt. If we could not publish our scientific papers in the United States, we had to go to Mexico and to Australia. But we have film strips. in 1984-85, where I'm speaking on Good Morning Australia to over 20 million people, explaining things that I could not explain in my home country. Why is that? Well, there was an understanding that some of our cosmic visitors were coming from Mars. And Mars is a planet of war, so perhaps these planetary visitors could be the wrong type of visitors, uninvited visitors. And so there's a whole political strategy why some of this has been held back. But what Dr. Sam is doing here in Bosnia is fantastic. But the big picture takes us to Mars. The pyramids in Giza are connected with the pyramids on Mars, and also the belt of Orion, illustrating a dialectic between the different star systems of intelligence, some of which want us to be warriors, some of which wish us to be activated as cosmologists of light and purpose.
So here's something called the Fork, but you can see the structure of it. This is in the Cydonia region, close to where what the face was supposedly. But then I'd like to go to the Tarsus Mars area. If you look at this geometry, actually it's 5152, same as the Great Pyramid. That angle is literally there, and you can see, we'll go to the next picture, you can see the exact
5152 on Mars. What does this mean?
Well, if nothing else, is sacred geometry.
It means the gods, or we will call it cosmic engineers, are coming back because they don't like what's happening on this planet. No, I'm serious. They do not like what's happening on this planet, and people are going to be awakened suddenly to the fact that one of the government leaders are going to say, we have visitors. We have, shall we say, others in the cosmic scheme of things. So
just to show a little bit of what Sam had shown, this is obviously the Giza Plateau. Over here you have Teotihuacan, you have the Pyramid of the Moon, the Pyramid of the Sun, and what I would also classify, even though it's called the Temple of Quetzalcoatl, it's actually a pyramid. And even the geometries in there show technology as far as we're concerned. So you have very similar situations. Again, we do believe connected with Orion's belt. Supposedly the Mayans, and of course this might be the Aztecs, no one really knows where this technology came from, but ultimately the Aztecs took it over, was connected, considered Orion as a god, literally small g.
So the former president of Mexico, who I knew privately, gave me his book called Quetzalcoatl because he knew I was a specialist, archaeologist working with remote viewing. He said he personally believed that the whole story of Quetzalcoatl were from the beings that came from the stars who went into the Pacific Ocean and then established a base from which they operated in that part of the world, later to become the country of Mexico. So we see at Tula, for example, these strange beings that are upwards of 3-4 meters high, but they have the breastplates. What are our breastplates? They're called Urim and Tumim in ancient scripture, or the Bible story. It means beings that could use superior powers to come through space and time. They were not confined to the laws of thermodynamics. Beautifully reconstructed. You see our pictures with one of the major investigators at Tula. This is just part of the story. What's the other part of the story, Desiree?
Well, we're going to get to it, and that's
the
what...
etheric
Also, Ken's
plasma vehicles.
talking about... Go ahead. Ken's going to be talking about this on Friday, so don't miss his talk as well. But, of course, these are one ship. This ship appeared just south of Mexico City in an area called Tepoztlan.
Which is known for its pyramids.
Yeah, and it was a plasma ship, which means the guy walked inside, and he said he couldn't feel his toes, but he can look around. Everything was kind of golden. They took him to a certain place. There's a whole story behind that.
He was very poor. All he had in his house was just the table, a few chairs, then he had the picture of the Divine Mother. We recognize the Divine Mother is also recognized in all three Abrahamic religions.
But we don't want to stop with this vehicle. We're more interested in looking at the pyramid that appeared over the Pentagon in December of 2018.
Let's not go so fast.
Okay.
Let's not go so fast. Those of you who have the book Keys of Enoch know this is the very first picture. And that picture shows a multicolored capstone, largely in the blue violets, that's connected with the scroll. This is an ancient teaching would be understood when this structure reappears in the sky. So what do we have suddenly over Moscow and over the area of Washington, D.C.? You see at the top, you have that blue pyramidal capstone mentioned in the Keys of Enoch.
Now,
The same structure over Moscow. Over Washington, D.C., showing the superpowers that they're being watched. They're not going to let this game between Israel and Iran destroy the planet. Believe me, there's more to the story than simplified archaeology. And this is where forbidden archaeology meets with forbidden cosmology.
right, so some of you may have seen this, but then when this appeared, we didn't take it that seriously, but then we have a colleague named Jaime Malsan. He's very head of some of the TV stations
Televisa, Mexico City.
in Mexico City, and he did the research. He goes, I want to see where this came from. So actually 4 people in 3 different circumstances saw it. One person was driving in a car. They were literally throwing the camera back and forth. They're the ones that shot this. It's 4 in the morning. There was another person that was at a cemetery, actually, also 4 in the morning. He saw it and confirmed. And then there was another person as well who confirmed it. So to Jaime's mind, that was sufficient to say this
So
is
this
something
is
real.
not simply the pyramid, but the pyramid capstone over Washington and Moscow.
Yes. So we're going to
We'll see the film.
a short film
Watch
on
it
this.
move.
This is slowed down, of course. Yeah.
Look how large it is. It was never in the newspapers.
Yes, yeah.
The government never told people in the U.S. and Russia that we were being watched. Why?
Speed it up so you
Superior
can see how it
intelligence
moves.
using geometric forms. And so this matches what we found on Mars, privately, of course, through remote viewing, and then external viewing.
And
What
now
we
the-
found in other parts of the world through all the major cultures. When the capstone returns, civilization is going to change.
And this is Moscow, it's 2009.
Again,
Some of you probably had seen that, especially if you come from the eastern part of Europe. I mean,
The
it's
capstone-
a video.
represents now the higher unity that is needed by all countries of peace, nonviolence, love, and respect to be harmonized. The language, of course, can take on many forms of vibration, but generally the mantric energy is the best we have found for the body, mind, and spirit. Again, this is so important what you're seeing here. And now our colleague, Alexander
Yeah,
Golod,
and I was just going to say, we're probably not showing it because we're not doing a talk on UFOs really, but a lot of the UFOs seen by the Navy also are triangular in shape. So, yes, go
in
ahead.
our work, we have an organization I am connected with, the Great Pyramid
Research
Research Association. One of our members from Russia is Alexander Golod. He is individually responsible for more than 17 pyramids in 8 different locations. Here we see part of his magnificent construction.
And I'm sure Valerie is going to be talking about this, or some of this, right?
144 feet high, weighing some 55 tons. The Russian paraphysicists have found that different structural materials can be used to make these pyramids. And wherever they are built, people feel happy.
Yeah.
Vibrations begin to change.
So they're not made out of stone. You can see now from the inside. These are the positive things about a pyramid. It's similar to what Dr. Sam's finding. The immune system of organisms got stronger or increased. Specific properties of medicines increased. Agricultural seeds is very common in pyramids. Placed in the pyramid showed a 30 to 100% increase in yield. The pathogenic strength of different viruses and bacteria became less when exposed to the pyramid. And I think this is really interesting. Work with more than 5,000 people in jails in Russia showed that in a few months, most crimes almost disappeared and behavior was much improved when they were given certain types of rice, actually. I think it was connected with that. So just a little short video that talks about this, and I hope we're not taking Valerie's whole lecture, but
This is so important.
This pyramid is neither a palace nor a tomb. Unlike its better-known sisters in Egypt and Mexico, it's only 9 years old. The 44-meter high fiberglass construction is built without a single piece of metal. But it's not the design that attracts dozens here every day.
I came here to get charged with the energy of the pyramid, to improve my health with this energy.
This pyramid is the tallest of 2 dozen, designed and built by Russian inventor Alexander Golod. He's been putting up such constructions across Russia and the world for over 20 years.
No, there's a positive side to all of the pyramids. In Hokia, Illinois, where we had a research facility, we were anthropologists and cultural historians showed that this was a massive city, one of the largest in the North American Midwest. Healing properties, of course, were well respected by the indigenous who we work with, and who now recognize the return of the star nations. They feel that Mother Earth Gaia is being destroyed, her prayers are not being heard, her suffering is not being heard, and for this reason the higher cosmic intelligence is coming back. So the bottom line here is we've gone to these locations, we've used the music and the positive meditation techniques to activate what we will call the capstone, for the higher purpose of why these sacred geometries were put together.
So one of the key places in, how many people know about this place? A few of you guys. Okay, this is really supposedly a Stargate, right? And you go in there and people have had experiences. They've seen other realities when just walking into that. So just to say the Hayumarca is a key place also in Peru. You don't have to be inside a pyramid, but inside.
And look how the blocks are put together.
Yeah.
Different sizes, but they're all put together. The binding knowledge, of course, has not been known, but we were able to do probes underneath these different locations in South America, and again, they were connected with underground passageways. When recent permission was given, we found also the bodies of the indigenous in some of these passageways because the Spanish conquistadores would destroy and put the unfortunate cultures underground as a testament to a superior psychology. Of course, we reject that. What we see here in the area of
Bolivia, yeah.
the stone gate, or the gate to the heavens, and our representatives there are gathered because we believe this was ground zero for cosmic intelligence some 32 to 36,000 years ago.
In fact, planes going over this area, this is really high up, right?
14,000 plus feet.
And they found when they were flying over using certain types of radar that there was actually ongoing canals up there, and they felt what had happened is that you would be able to put water into those canals, and then it would hold the sunlight and keep it warm at night. And so they were able to grow at this altitude thousands of years ago.
So we're talking about re-radiation of thermal energy. And here in the area of the stone gates, the area called Sasaya, using the vibration of Pachamama, which means, and of course, the Mother Earth concept.
Yes, okay.
Please.
Now let's
We
use the
understand
expression.
the vibration of opening the gates to a higher resonance of the return of the star nations that are pictured in the hieroglyphics on the left and right side. This is made out of one piece of stone. It was to represent an anthropological museum connected with the face forms of different races. Over, so we say 40 different races were represented in this area.
So let's use the expression Pachamama,
I'm
which
going to
is
sing it.
in Amara, Quechua
Then feel
language.
yourself passing through the gate of the three-dimensional world into the fifth dimension.
How big is that gateway?
When you stand in there,
You
you
can
can
see
see.
it.
You could just about walk through it. Yeah.
This is 6 feet high by the door itself under
Yeah.
the lintel.
Yeah.
Then you add additional 4 to 5 feet. One piece. This is vibratory archaeology. Archaeology without sound is dead. This is musical linguistics. The ancient text without sound vibration is dead. This is future science. Science guided by acoustical physics, without which science is just mathematical terms used by a handful of engineers who generally bow to the gods of the dollar bill or the plastic credit card. That's the game that's being played. But we are to break through this, and I apologize if I use different vibrations to open the chakras, but once you open up, your body becomes different. You begin to dance. Although this is a winter scene in the mountains, we are able to dance when we open up the portal to the stars.
So let's also look, actually, this is very interesting, Pedro Ferrada in Brazil, hundreds of rock paintings dating from 12,000 BP, maybe 50,000 before the present. Tools found at the location were dated 48,000 to 32,000 years old. So we work in Brazil. We also work in Chile, and we were in touch with the archaeologists of the area, and they are talking amongst themselves. They're not publishing. There's a very little published. They did some A-box technology looking at the paintings to see if they could get the dates. They were all extremely, extremely old. So,
we were told not to publish. That was why we were allowed to go to the
Chile and Brazil, yeah.
And the interesting
Monteverde
yeah. Artifacts were estimated to be at least 32,000 years old.
Yeah. And this is all South America, if you don't.
And these artifacts that we looked at had little wheels, small little structures that children would use in, you call it habitat in the mountains. Where did this come from? Maybe the wheel-like vehicles they saw in space, maybe some other source?
Well, maybe they actually came from a previous civilization connected with, we'll say, the legendary continent of Mu. Because it seems that, well, you could say 27,000 for Gunung Padang, but in actuality, what happens is that when they built it, did that culture live earlier before it sank into the sea? And did it sink, or did the waters rise up?
So these are the children we're working with. These are children in the area of
Minas Gerais in Brazil. Yeah.
Right, and this is where we come from in our archaeological work. They're connected with their shamans, and here we are made chiefs, and we have headdresses also to show the induction. But what was important here is their prayers were using very special musical sounds.
And just to say a little bit about these indigenous people, in case you haven't worked with them, they all sleep together. There's several of these round huts, but there's like 20 people that sleep together. I don't care what they're doing at night, they're sleeping together. So they actually get very enhanced mental signals. When you go to be with them, they actually put this cord around your wrist, and basically eventually you have to take it off because they're in your heads. We're not used to that. We're not used to the thoughts and powers and understandings in your head. But when I said I was going to go there, but I didn't want to be caught in a little airplane because you have to fly there, in the rain. So on the way back, interesting enough, there were clouds and rain all around us, but we were sitting in a bubble on the entire thing because they kept that rain from us. They knew.
They promised they would pray for us when we would go to the heavens, that we would not have any problems with our airplane.
Yeah.
And again, the sacred sounds were very important.
So we have them dancing.
And of course, this is our work in Easter Island, off the coast of South America, Chile. What is interesting is the eyes are looking to the sky.
And also we don't have it in this document, but their hands are down here, almost very similar to what you see also
in mudra positions that you find in India.
And Göbekli Tepe. So their hands are almost identical to that of many of the hands in Göbekli Tepe. So let's go on because we're trying to talk about Mu and the area there. Dr. Hurtak.
This is the most important film. The Temple of Mu takes us now to the South Pacific. We've been in Egypt, we've been in South Africa, we've been in Mexico, we've been in Brazil, but now we go to the other part of the world that's definitely connected with the legends of a great civilization that sunk into the ocean According to the ancient mathematics, some 57 million people died.
Or at least
When
water.
the motherland was
rose up.
submerged.
Yeah.
The motherland would be now areas of Indonesia, areas of Vietnam, areas of southern islands of Japan, and of course, portions of Thailand and Cambodia.
So we actually believe that people went from Mu over to the New World. Some Thor Heyerdahl actually showed that it was not hard to go that direction from the Pacific to the New World, so to speak.
He was the great European anthropologist.
And that they used a lot of the technology. But you can see there, I mean, if we saw that on land here, we'd be crawling all over it because it's definitely a pyramid site. And what
On the
else?
Keys of Enoch, there's a world map, and one of the map points, or longitudinal lines, is 121 degrees, 27, and this is, yes, this is the area that cuts through the island
Of
of
Flores.
Flores, where this form of intelligent life, or proto-human, was found.
But again, it's on alignment with Yonaguni as well. So this is really what they had seen. Dr. Hurtak was there, is under the
I was
water.
invited by the Japanese government and also the University of Okinawa because they had read the Keys of Enoch, and they knew everything that I wrote on the star map was a place where they found ancient pyramids and pyramid civilization, as well as temple civilization. So this is the temple underneath the Pacific Ocean in the area of the Lucas Islands. This is where Dr. Robert Schock from Boston and I agreed. So we went out and we did the diving underneath the ocean in the late 1990s.
And on the surface, there's also, like you see here in Bosnia, a big wall that literally looks like the Peruvian walls, where they're totally put together perfectly. So you find that actually in Japan, in the southern islands of Japan. You find that in Peru and Bolivia, and you find that here in Bosnia.
Let's take a closer look at these structures now.
Okay, so here's just a small trailer.
Before cataclysms of fire and flood engulfed the temple of Mu.
It's as loud as it gets now.
In his 1973 Book of Knowledge, The Keys
Louder.
of Enoch, Dr. Hurtak stated that in the region of approximately 121 degrees east longitude, ancient temples and pyramids would be found, linking the Yonaguni area to Egypt's pyramids, Cambodia's Angkor Wat, and other sacred sites throughout the world. According to Dr. Hurtak, the Yonaguni area locates one region where ancient civilization reached significant development. Yonaguni's subsurface discovery brings to life the legendary Ryugujo, the sunken castle of Japanese myth. It may have been terraformed. In other words, an original natural formation was shaped into a sacred center by human beings during ancient times.
So you can actually find the entire documentary online now on YouTube. It's called
What's
The Temple of
important
Mu.
is it validates what I was shown in 1973, along with other temples such as we see here in Cambodia, Angkor Wat. And we have, of course, the interesting aspect of the sacred square matrix, within which there is a second or a third. The illustration, of course, is the four principal gates that have to be harmonized. This is why we have the four amens in Western traditions of philosophy and theology. The four amens representing the human temple that's being activated.
So here's a book Dr. Hurtak and I put together called The Overself Awakening, and it actually takes you to different places of the world, because we do believe that key places need to be activated for the planet to move into its power of ascension. So Angkor Wat has 5 principal towers, interpreted by those of the East as the 5 peaks of Mount Meru, the ancient mythical home of the gods, and the Axis Mundi, the center of the Hindu universe. A moat surrounds the sacred temple, representing the cosmic oceans of life. We're going to get back into the importance of why water is key in all these temples, and of course you see that here as well.
But the temple within is the feminine spirit that has been kept in a passive state. And now, with their understanding of vibratory physics, a new era is about to take place. With your permission, we go on to the vibration of the Divine Mother of Compassion. And we see here the multiple heads that we have if we open our right hemisphere. So we understand our higher teaching has to be with the feminine or multiphysical side of the brain. We see the different shapes, faces of humanity. We see the hands, the 8 hands reaching dynamically in different directions of understanding compassion. And I'm going to intone this myself 7 times. Just listen.
No, I think we'll add 2.
And then you can add the second
Well,
7,
do it 3 times.
which would be 14.
Yeah, okay.
Kuan Yin, 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 Kuan Yin. We stopped at that point. 7 times for the 7 seals, the 7 chakras. Now we see there's a second set above the head. There are 14 chakras or seals. This is very important because in our research with government leaders, we have found that there are 14 extraterrestrial civilizations now making contact with the human race. 14. Not 1, not 2, not 5, but 14.
He's agreeing. Anyway.
And the temples we find in India are magnificent, where the Buddha reached enlightenment under the so-called Bodhi tree. We hear the Maha, or the great Mahabodhi temple, Bodhaya, showing the different levels of intelligent life according to that construct. Not saying that you have to go into Eastern religion or Western religion. I'm just saying that all of them are balanced by mathematics, harmonics, color language. And you put them all together, you get what the Giza called the language of light, capital L. You make contact mentally, metaphysically, paraphysically with those who communicate through ancient signs and symbols.
Well, yes, and as you look at this, you see that, of course, this is more contemporary since the time of Buddha. But they did make it like a pyramid, and the stupas around Indonesia as well and Southeast Asia are all part of that connecting pathway to the heavens, to the stars. They're almost like antenna, sending and receiving information. So let's go on. Here's
Here
another
we see in
mantra.
the Hindu temple of the Lord, of the Mahavishnu, and you see the 14 levels of life. Each having men and women, but of different colors, different vibrations, different facial forms and expressions. We were able to find this also in Bolivia, in a smaller fashion, again at the Anthropological Museum of different races, as well as in China, underground, connected with the ancient pyramids. And so, why do we have these large temples, Desiree, and why the embellishments?
Well, you know, in addition to just being that energy conduit we were just talking about, actually I'd like to say also, we believe it shows, in this case, the heavenly realms. That we would be here, so to speak, but then there's even more beyond. And we can see this also in the Tankas, that it's not just one level. We're working on several levels. If you were talking about 14 chakras, you're working on 14 chakras. Working on 7 levels. You're working even on 24 levels as well.
And those of you who have listened to us or others through Dr. Sam know, in the Egyptian cosmology, you have the boat of Nut, the divine feminine or mother, and you have different levels of biology and different levels of cosmic humanity. Yes, because some work for the advancement of humanity, and some wish to stop us and make us, as it were, slaves to three-dimensional realities that do not work in the cosmic evolution.
So see these as displaying the cosmos, the higher heavens that we don't see right now, but we can participate in
Through
as
sound.
well. So
Adi Shakti, of course,
let's do
is one of the
Om.
sounds of the Divine Mother's name.
So I like to do the Adi Shakti Om because it kind of completes the energy. Yeah, it's really considered the original divine power, which we feel is within us as well. And it's part of the vibration that also augments and activates these temples.
Adi Shakti Om, Adi Shakti Om. That's what vibrate. Adi Shakti Om, 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 Adi Shakti Om. 12 times with the 12 gates of the zodiac opened. Now here in Tikal, 1981, we carried out musical experiments that were fantastic. We got the pyramids to move.
And to sing, basically. So Dr. Hurtak stood across at this other temple. He was able to climb up. This is 81, when they let you do that, even late night. We had a tape recorder actually down at one of the stelas. And when he sang, and we had a female voice that came in and harmonized with him. She didn't just repeat. It wasn't an echo. It was a harmonic to his voice, and it was clearly feminine in that aspect.
We took it to the sound recordings to Europe. Sela Badaci, the famous Romanian conductor, heard this. He said, "These are paraphysical sounds. Somehow they were activated." Yes, we were told that this area Tikal means the city of music. So if there was a city underneath the pyramids of Egypt, it is a city of music. Again, we have to realize what is missing in archaeology and anthropology is the vibratory physics. When we can harmonize, when we can use this, suddenly our mind opens up. We see the interconnections with all cultures in a very profound way.
Right, and so this also recently came out. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. It's the LiDAR studies done by National Geographic Institute.
That's the jungle cover. You don't see much of anything except two structures. And then on the right side, through multicolor LiDAR, we see over 40 different structures.
You start seeing the smaller structures. And this is in terms of what National Geographic has come up with.
Look at what we see.
They feel that literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, and we'll leave it at that, people lived in the Yucatan at the time of Christ. And Dr. Hurtak in his work with actually JPL found that they actually had underground canals that processed the water to all these people. You could see that also in SAR research.
Yes.
So let's keep going on this. So interesting, Chichen Itza, one of the great pyramids there. 91 steps times 4, 364 plus the top platform. You get to be 365. And that's when you could climb up it.
Enoch lived 365 years, according to ancient scripture. Enoch is our source of metaphysical, paraphysical information. He has suggested that when we harmonize the pyramids of the world, then the architects will come back. So we're close to doing this now through worldwide musicians, singers, sociologists, and psychologists, is to bring people up through positive knowledge, through world music, world positive thinking, world celebration.
So one of the interesting things, I think Dr. Sam said it, but maybe more privately, is you never build pyramids over water, right?
Wrong.
Well, first of all, one more picture here, and the Chichen Itza is known to also align with certain stars like the Pleiades, but this is what I was getting to. Actually, they found out underneath, and if you've been to Chichen Itza, you know there's a cenote really close by, but they found out there's a huge, we'll say, cavern of water underneath Chichen Itza. Now, what is like that? Well, we got a little house down there that has the image of Tesla, and this is Tesla. This is the Tesla Tower. What was underneath him?
The Warren Tower in Long Island, New York.
Water is a critical factor in terms of the Tesla Tower. It's a critical factor in terms of the activation of the pyramids, and you find, of course, water all over the Bosnian area as well.
So with each sound frequency, we get closer to the top of the pyramid. Otherwise, we stay at the bottom taking pictures like the Japanese or American tourists. They just take pictures. They never go up to the top frequency. You get to the higher frequencies, you get to the area of 432 to 438. In Egypt, suddenly things turn light.
But what can water do? Well, water really is a conduit of energy, right? Like you should never step in like a water pond when there's like lightning or something like that, because you would just be like, shot. So it's a conduit of energy. It also reacts to flow patterns, and it's just a very, very powerful scenario. So basically, they have now discovered that underneath the big Chichen Itza pyramid, I'll go back to this pyramid or this, is water. And underneath the Great Pyramid is, in that whole Giza area, is also water. We do think it's part of the technology that is part of it. And even though you're not finding water when you go down to the subterranean chamber of the Great Pyramid, our associates who did the Cheops Luga actually has done analysis of the stones, and they were surrounded with water. Water is definitely underneath that area.
Continue.
Okay, and this is what Dr. Sam showed yesterday, and everyone said, well, where'd it come from? How is it there? This is really Jaime Malsan Productions and Hector Silesia. But here's the real data on it, so you can see the exact date. If you can read it, you can see the exact time. You can see that literally they had shot one with and one without. So they have all the data that was there just exactly at that specific
and this
moment.
happened also in Tikal. We were not with cameras at that time, but certain vibrations connected with the water below and the sound structure above attract the energy lightning discharges. And you get a standing column wave of light energy. Fantastic. Just like the pillars of light mentioned in the Bible, when the people went out of Egypt, they saw the pillar of light. Whether this was an actual pillar or a metaphysical construct of the mind. Here we know it's not something that is imaginary, it's for real.
Yeah, so it was 2009, it was 7:20, then it was the July 24th, it was approximately 2 o'clock, so just, it should have been daylight, but it's interesting that there were clouds coming over, which is not unusual for the Yucatan, but anyway, you can see that.
Are you saying that they shot two of these photographs at different times?
Well, well, one had the pillar and one did not. Yeah, I took that out just for the sake of just trying to wrap this up with everything. But this was the data for that particular
Two
shot.
exhibits, before the lightning came down and after.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is an illustration of what we'll call mind over matter and capstone reality of what we're seeing now. And the ability to collectively reach up with the right people who are at the right sacred areas, such here in Bosnia, which is the great vortex, where we pray for peace on our planet.
And of course, this is a type of analysis of the photo itself to see that, there wasn't something that was like fake or something like that. There was a whole energy connected with that pillar. You can even see almost the colors coming on around there. So anyway, so let's do one mantra connected with this.
The Mayan expression is Hunab Ku, the Supreme One. And again, if you do this correctly, you can see the shadow patterns of what looks like a dragon figure coming down the staircase.
Well, especially at the right time when it's,
On the other hand, the sound structures that are vibrating give the sound of chirping of birds. So you understand the concept of the phoenix, the bird of awakening the conscious dead mind to the consciousness living or creative mind.
Right, so what he's saying is if you're standing, actually I think it's on this side over here, and you actually wiggle your fingers to close your platform like this, you'll get the sound of the Quetzal bird going up the staircase.
So this is vibratory archaeology and vibratory sociology. Again, I will sing 3 times, and then if you wish, join me with the Hunab Ku from the Mayan language.
everywhere we go is to record through computer equipment, and we have permission throughout Mexico to record the sounds in Chichen Itza.
Is one example.
Palenque down where that tomb is, we were able to record there and several other spots. We actually have come out with that article in the archaeological magazine of Mexico, Arqueologia, and we got certain frequencies like 117 hertz was high in certain areas, so we were able to do charts and graphs. We did a similar thing, but so did our associates.
So this illustrates the human voice activating the equivalent of the inverted pyramid or the external pyramid. In other words, the initiation that we must have is not to be like a bag of sand, not to watch the television screen, not to be a passive participant in human civilization, but to realize the power of our mind, our body. Temple becomes alive. As we see here, by the picture, we become really the pyramid within the pyramid. And
right.
Here are the other apparatus that we use in measuring the rooms before we did the testing.
And again, usually it's around A sharp, or F and F sharp. So sometimes B flat as well, which is A sharp, depending on the frequency. Now we'd like to go over, this is of course a picture in Dr. Hurtak's book. Again, his book came out in 1973.
20 years before Babel.
So Dr. Hurtak had this unique pyramid triangle of alignment in the Yucatan area. He put, as you see, Chichen Itza in one part, Hamanalhuyu, which is just north of Guatemala City, Palenque in the center, and Tres Zapotes or Sierra Rabon at the western location.
And this is where National Geographic, using LiDAR, has confirmed all of the other work that we've done.
And not to leave out Copan, we all been there. I know many of you guys talked about it. It's a great place as well. But what's interesting, this came out in the 70s, and then this kid, right, his name was William Goddard. He actually, when he was in high school, he got in a hold of the Canadian Space Agency. He goes, look, I actually can see that a lot of these pyramids are aligned to the stars. And he did his own kind of triangle. He used a little bit different. He used Koba instead of Chichen Itza, and he did use Copan, I think, in terms of over there. So he did his own thing. This is like, look at how little he is. I mean, he's like a 16-year-old kid. This kind of came to him, right? And basically, so going back to the picture, he's saying, you know, all of them are aligned with the stars. And he's even saying that there's certain places that are missing. So I'm going to go back one more time. He put alignments to, actually Orion was a major part of it. And basically he laid out all the pyramidal structures there. And then basically he said there's missing parts in this area. El Mirador happens to be one of the largest finds now in terms of archaeological finds.
Over 50 kilometers. 50 kilometers.
But then they went and looked. They took their satellites, just like we hear about synthetic gravitational radar, and they found that he was right. There were missing pyramids based on stellar alignments.
So the Earth pyramids are a mirror of what is in the sky, as Dr. Sam has said many times. We are working with a broken mirror. We're not putting the pieces together. To put the pieces together is vibration. Vibration activates what we would call plasma physics, higher consciousness expansion, and connectiveness be called the reconnection. We are being reconnected with the star nations, the star intelligence, the star hierarchy. And that's the indigenous story. They're saying we are being prepared because Mother Gaia is being destroyed, our friends are coming back. You politicians in Europe, North America, wherever you are, you were going to vacate your positions of power because you've taken people into the lower dialectic of death rather than into the capstone of life and sound. And so we go on and see what happened to me in Tulum, Mexico. And this is in the year 2000. I was there with the pyramidal grid, the archaeological zone in Tulum, and I was singing the ancient Hebrew Aramaic of the divine names of God, and suddenly this light came around my body. It was very powerful. A man taking a picture of his wife in the foreground was able to capture in a few milliseconds the light shield. This is an illustration of the language of light, the body of light, and the ascension process into the fifth dimension, I believe, that all of you will go through because you're here with Sam and others like him. You realize all of these geometries of Marco and others from all over Europe point to the sky, to the next chapter of life. So we are thankful to the divine plan, the divine source. Even in the Aztec, the Pleiades means the gathering place.
Right, and this is what Dr. Sam explained to you today at the beginning of the tumulus. It's actually called the New Fire Ceremony. And so they place we've actually written about this on our website. The Pleiades means the gathering place. And on midnight, every 52 years, it appeared directly overhead and assured the ancient Americans, that's the Aztecs at that point, that the world would not come to an end. That's an amazing thing. So it was, of course, they did do sacrifice connected with it, but the Pleiades appearing overhead meant the world would not come to an end. The Aztecs performed a special religious ceremony called the Dance of the New Fire, or the New Fire Ceremony, once every 52 years to ensure the movement of the cosmos and the rebirth of the sun. So this is close to Tenochtitlan, which is the temple inside kind of Mexico City. It has the word Enoch, which we always think is very cool with that. And then we'll keep going, the 52-year cycle was said to begin when the Pleiades crossed the fifth cardinal point, or the zenith of heaven at midnight. In addition, this is an interesting thing, 2 52-year cycles, or 104 years, coordinate with the further alignment with Venus, symbolic of the female creative form on a local scale. You can find this kizarima.org, our learning session. All this time, all fires of the Aztec realm would then be put out, and everyone looked towards the mountain called, and I'm not going to say it, when the constellation called by the Aztecs the fire drill, Orion's belt. So they not only looked at the Pleiades, they not only looked at Venus, but they looked also at Orion's belt called the fire drill, rose above the horizon. A man then was sacrificed, as he said, and a fire lit on his chest. Once the sparks began, the next fire was started by Temple Mayor, which is Tenochtitlan, and the other temples around the Aztec.
So we don't believe in human sacrifice, but that was a phase some societies went through. But in our other knowledge of work with the indigenous, the Lakota star nations have also this cosmology of Orion and the Pleiades.
Right, so they see this kind of bird around it, and they see one part of the bird is Sirius. The middle part of the body, once again, 3 stars, here you go, is Orion. And then the other side is the Pleiades. And this is typical of the Lakota, and that's the middle part of our country, in North Dakota, South Dakota, stellar cosmology.
Again, I point out the 3 stars in the belt of Orion. These are not abstract geometries, these are ceremonial geometries. The Native Americans with the feathers of the birds of the heavens repeat in their dance and in their celebration.
So it's Tayamim is what they would call it. And I think we have one more picture here, because we've also realized that if you go back to the Great Pyramid, and as we said, the Queen's star shaft goes to Sirius, the King's star shaft goes to Orion, and then if you draw that line, as we saw at the very beginning, Sirius, Orion, you get to the Pleiades.
So it's unity between the male and the female. It's sound vibration, going from the lower level of human civilization to the capstone. to star contact in star civilization. To put it simply, we are going now from humankind to space kind. We're being prepared for cosmic citizenship. Our colleague Ken will illustrate this tomorrow. Friday with the coming of new information being debated by top people in the world governments, that there is going to be some new plan to prepare humanity, whether it's negative, positive, or neither, alternative for what will be the sociological impact of life beyond Earth meeting with life on Earth.
So in our cosmology, just to say, this exists regardless of whose cosmology you're looking at. There's an alignment from Sirius to Orion to the Pleiades, but we feel that Orion is a gateway to higher realms. The Pleiades is kind of a cradle and throne. If you put Sirius and Orion together, you note our homeland. We actually feel we turn the tree of life upside down. We did not completely evolve from this system of things. We're the Adamic species, and we exist in the heavens, and they've seen us in the heavens as well.
So why do we go to all these places, Desiree? Because we are working with the conic section physics of putting that structure from below and that which is from above together. The meeting place, according to the keys of Enoch, is where the 3 stars of Orion are connected with star civilization.
But again, we don't see it as the end point. We see it as a vortex point into other realms. Just like you have vortices on the earth, you have alignments of those vortices in the heavens, and from those heavens you have vortices that extend beyond this 3rd/5th dimensional reality.
So let's put all this together.
A few more slides and then we'll do a meditation, but I couldn't let this go by.
Years ago, a young woman who was an anthropologist
called Cynthia
Irwin Williams at Harvard University used radiocarbon dating. In Mexico, her one find went back 35,000 years before present.
But the uranium dating produced an age of 260,000 BP. She was Harvard. She was given the site, which is really near Puebla. That's not far from Mexico City. It's called Basaquillo, that area. But of course, you're lucky Dr. Sam survived. She did not.
She had to leave the faculty at Harvard.
Even though her data was showing that in Mexico, near Mexico City, there was much of an older culture.
And what happened to my work, my data, I could not publish in the United States. Imagine having many degrees, academic degrees, working with the top scientists. Even Dr. Puharic, whose family came from Croatia, who was a personal consultant to President Kennedy. Imagine that. The highest members of the intelligence community, knowing the truth, could not say the truth. But I'm saying this to you. If you do not have the vibration of your heart, mind, and spirit, forget it. You've missed the lesson of life. Wherever you go in the world, and this is why we're showing you so many different places, you come up with the drama of the conic section, the spiral of the DNA that has to be re-anointed with love, light, and wisdom.
And just to go back, as you see, that was in Mexico. Then if you go towards, we'll say, east of Los Angeles, almost to what's called Palm Springs, they also have dated these Lake Mannix litho industries, 18,000 to 20,000 years of age, and even Calico early man tools, 200,000. They found mammoth bones down in San Diego, which is at the museum in San Diego, by the way, and they had been laid intelligently together. So they
showing that the bones were used geometrically to express afterlife.
Yeah, we've also been swimming off of Bimini. We've seen the Bimini Road. But now, just as a quick final finale.
We're told about the giants in the ancient book of Enoch. We're shown about, in other literature, the interesting scenario of the wrong type of genetics that led to the death. Here in South Africa, years ago, I was able to discover ancient footprints in several locations, one of which I took a picture of. I brought to the attention through Klaus Dohna, famous Austrian anthropologist, with others at a world conference in Vienna.
So because of the work of Klaus Dohna, There was a reconstructed giant skeleton in Switzerland. You can find this in Interlaken, Switzerland. And they followed the instructions of Klaus, a researcher in the, because he's been here many times. While working in Ecuador, he came across evidence of bones from a giant. They came from a family of Father Carlos Vaca, who in Ecuador found the bones in '64 in a valley in south of Ecuador. All these bones are believed to belong to a 7.6 meter or 25-foot giant. So this giant skeleton has been reconstructed, so to speak. It's not the real bones, but they made it look like that. And then we were happy to see on the other side at this complex in Interlaken, Switzerland, that Eric von Daniken used to be the head of. They put Dr. Hurtak's picture.
I'm between the footprints of the giants and the skeletal structure of the giants, because we were being prepared for the coming of the hobbits as well as the giants. The hobbits from Mars, the giants from Orion.
Well, actually, the giants are.
This is the map now of our
yes,
discovery over 50 years, the validation of each of these longitudinal lines.
So this is the fuller picture in the Keys of Enoch. You saw the hobbits in Yanaguni. We're going to show you really quickly the Mauritius, the video on that. Great Pyramid, and you can see the alignments here going down. You have others as well, Stonehenge, and actually this is the Azores, which we've been to, and of course the Chichen Itza.
These are the major longitudinal, the what I will call the minor frequencies, like music has major minor chords.
And the Hawaiians also have heiaus.
Connect Bosnia with civilizations in Romania, in East Europe, an ancient underground civilization that was very massive. So this is the outer part of the European story that connects knowledge not only with East Europe but also with Egypt.
And I do want to emphasize again, so the heiaus in Hawaii, on Maui is one heiau that looks very much like a pyramid as well. So let's take a look. Oh, a few things.
The Chinese acupuncturists capture this in terms of the meridians within our body.
But that's what we feel. We feel these are like meridians on a planet, of the planet, and just like we have them on our system. So here's Pico, the Azores. We've actually spent time on the Azores. We're looking under the water to try to find pyramids, but when I look under the water, I always say the guy on the boat. This is only one of 140 pyramids observed by the archaeologists on Pico Island and the Azores. Some of these structures are about 13 meters, 43 feet high. So there's pyramids in the middle of the ocean, in other words. Let me go back again and just point that out. Actually, right in the middle of the ocean, right where the North Atlantic Ridge meets. So let's go on to this picture of the Mauritius. Dr. Sam showed some of it, but we're going to show the video that takes you around it. So you can see that these are just really beautiful platforms.
I was not aware of this until I had my experience.
And actually, a friend of ours told us that there is a mountain that looks very much like a pyramid that's sacred to them.
So fasten your seatbelts. Let's see this film.
Yeah.
We fly over. They're missing the capstone. Why? Because you're the capstone. You're the missing geometry.
I mean, the current people clearly don't know what they're there for.
Definitely not farmers building these.
Oh, they just threw the stones up when they cleared the ground.
Of the great pillar in the boundary of Egypt. In Egyptian language, boundary means Giza. So there you have it in the book of Isaiah, the greatest prophet of the Old Testament, a reference, a subtle, oblique reference to the pyramid of Egypt as a boundary to the higher cosmology.
And for those of you who don't know where the Mauritius is, it's actually not far from Michael's house.
So let's put all this together. We had a lot of teaching, a lot of navigation, but now we come to the inner navigation, seen by the beautiful mandalas.
So we believe that the ancients understood this, and you moved them into a three-dimensional reality, and they started
temple within a temple within the temple within the temple. A jewel vehicle within a jewel vehicle within a jewel vehicle. In the Hebraic Christian tradition is the Merkabah, the vehicle of light, ascension, and beauty. In other traditions, it is the diamond vehicle that shines in the brilliance. And still other traditions, it's the tortoise shell, the shell of the turtle that comes down from the higher worlds into the ocean of life. We give thanks to the Most High for bringing us together, inspiring Dr. Sam and others like him to bring together the workers of the new humanity, the cities of the earth that shall glisten, but first of all are found within the very vibration of our body.
So we believe, again, water is key to the energy of generation, but also understanding that there's many levels of reality. There's the earth reality, the earth realms, there's the heavenly reality, and then there's the divine reality. So we are moving into an understanding of not only outer space, but also inner space.
What is called in the Tibetan the Kleu, the sons of heaven.
Geometry that we see here is very similar to the marionettes of the Muslim religion, where you have sometimes the four going around and then the central cosmology.
Yes, the singer, one who calls people to prayer, finds himself on a high, shall we say, pillar of different ornamentation, but the basis is the understanding of the sacred balance between the three and the two and the three, the five-centered vibration.
So you have the five, and then if you expand out, you have another four. So basically you have the 9. So stop seeing this as a two-dimensional reality. Start seeing it as a 3, 4th, and even 5th dimensional reality.
In the language of science, these 5 would represent the electromagnetic body, the epikinetic body, the vibratory, Eka body of overself, consciousness dimensions, and then the Zohar body of the cosmic creation, the ongoing story of life that brings all of this together. We see this beautifully illustrated in our book, The Divine Overself. Here we see how we, in prayer and meditation, connect the heart chakra, the 3 vehicle, or the diamond vehicle, body, mind, and spirit, to the healing places of worship, cosmic design, schools of teaching, and pyramidal wisdom throughout the world. We are really the temple of understanding, bringing all of the temples together.
But this is our work to activate the grid points around the world, and that's why we're here right now in Bosnia. That's why we go to Egypt, that's why we go to Mexico, that's why we go to South America and the Far East, and even to Tibet if we can. This is all part of the activated grid, and when the grid is activated as part of our book, Over Self-Awakening, we ourselves become energized beings of
And what are
Christ.
these eyes all about, Desiree? These are little upports, or the orbs,
They're like
or the
vortex
vibrations
points.
we see when we're inside the temples here in Bosnia. When we sing, these little light, bluish lights or greenish lights appear. It's signs of compatibility of the cosmic structure. In the center of all of this is the return of the dove. In Sanskrit, of course, it is a certain energy of reconciliation. In Hebrew, it's called Bath Kol. The inner voice of the dove in Christianity is the voice of common vibration and the gifts of spirit. In Islam, it is the understanding of higher dedication to God, divine, or is the Supreme One. So we are all together. The temples are opening themselves, not just what we see under normal conditions, but what we see now under the earth, and also connected with our neighboring planets.
You see the geometries in the heavens that at the top of the temple, which align to the stars and create their own transmission, their own portal, their own energy transduction. They are the antennas to higher realms of consciousness.
We take a deep breath. We look at also an Angkor Wat, We see the geometries of how the temple ultimately is expanded to reach around the earth through the four gates, the earth causeway, going to the heavens.
Geometry was there, like there's a geometry of understanding our universe. Part of even the extraterrestrials have asked us for help to understand the cosmology and the geometry of our universe. I believe we can put that together.
And then we look at the Temple of Solomon in its original sense. 64 basic sections. According to Enoch, it represents 64 levels of teaching, opening up different areas of knowledge. When we do this together, we can go into the Holy of Holies. We can understand Psalm 133, brothers and sisters rejoicing. Psalm 23, our heads anointed with oil, going through the valley of the shadow, having the temple and having the table prepared in the presence of our quote-unquote enemy or opposition. And ultimately, we energize the dodecahedral system, the sacred geometry.
So this is the vibration of the Merkaba. And so let us sing this Ma'asaba Merkaba.
Which means the science of the divine vehicle.
Ma'asaba
Merkaba, Ma'asaba Merkaba, Ma'asaba Merkaba, Ma'asaba Merkaba, Ma'asaba Merkaba, Ma'asaba Merkaba, Ma'asaba Merkaba. And so we see what we saw over Moscow and Washington, the pyramid geometry in the sky.
and the capstone of glory.
The reawakening to a new biophysics and positive psychology of who we are through healing, through sound waves, through gathering of brothers and sisters breaking bread and song, as we see here with Dr. Sam's work. And far beyond this, in every part of the world, ecological communities, communities of healing, those off the grid, those who have found the horizon of seeing in the late evening and early morning hours. That missing capstone is our citizenship, our call to be cosmic citizens. And that which is coming, we believe in the coming of why the 64 keys of Enoch and Metatron show us the places where the ancient places or instruments of war were used to bring death,
Or the positive vehicles of energy were brought together.
to bring life. So
You see this in the area
the moment
of the Asylum.
making a decision is important.
Yes.
And thus we go beyond the symbolism of ancient mythology into the science of awakening ourselves with humility, not to worship the Egyptian gods, but to go beyond them to the true source, the true sonship and daughterhood of that which is the supreme one, the ultimate one, the one behind all of the great prophets. And this is the expression, of course, of Heru-Ur, which means the eye that sees the cosmos. I want to sing it 3 times. Listen or visualize your eyes.
Join
See
us.
all of the colors that you're putting on as you celebrate the changing of garments. Heru, Heru. This little place becomes now a temple. We turn to you, Supreme One, hear our voice. Hear the vibrations of our heart. We go beyond the geometry of Egypt into the geometry of the house of many mansions. We go beyond physical form into transphysical, spiritual, unified form with all that you have created. Bless us in humility and bless us in understanding as we see ourselves, yes, even within the sepulchre of the king's chamber, as we see Desiree The sphere of light appears when we sing your holy name. We go beyond the Om, we go beyond the Aum, we go into the Ummah in Arabic, which means the spiritual unity, the fellowship of spirit. And thus we close with this, the Om, the Aum, the Ummah. Together, we take our final breath. We open our arms to embrace the universe. As the Christ figure show humanity. The greater love, the greater story of life. The greater transition, the greater ascension. Yes, we are at the portal of ascension. But now we must bring together all of our tools. Not one form of science, but all forms. Not one form of philosophy, but all. The pen, the unity, the ecumenical brotherhood and sisterhood, the Abrahamic people of Abraham, who was touched by the angel of God saying, your offspring will inherit the stars, is now coming into fruition.
So let us activate our heart chakra. Let us activate also our sixth chakra. As we open to see, know, and know more, see and know more. As we grow into the light, we grow into the love. We grow into the fellowship that is cosmic, not just earth-based.
So let our hands come together and make this great heart. Let us make this will that we will be positive thinking no matter what happens in the geopolitical world. Let us be way showers of light, architects of sound and understanding the co-creativity
And
of
as
life
astronaut
itself.
Mitchell looked down from space, he actually saw the vibrations of how we are all one. He saw what he called the overview effect. And so let us sing what we sang earlier, sending love throughout the planet as we close with the Om Shanti 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 Om.
Which means the vibration of peace, peace, peace. Peace of the body, inner peace of the mind, higher peace of the spirit. All three coming together as we see our blue-green planet about to enter into the galactic family of nations. We put the pieces together. The city under Egypt will be found. The city structures under China, the Gobi Desert will be found. The city structures under the Kalahari in Africa will be found, yes?
As you see, this is Antarctica will also be
And
found.
under Antarctica, yes, even the greater, more ancient city we believe is there will be found. As we send love and light to all parts of the world, we invite all of you to be aware of the Academy for Future Science as it works in unity with the Parliament of the World Religions, with the great scholars and scientists of the future. We say and sing in conclusion. Om Shanti 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 Om. Om Shanti 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 Om. Om Shanti 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 Om. The gathering. There is the dove. There are the architects of all traditions, races coming together with the return of the dove. As we enter into the age of the Ruach, the Holy Spirit, we go with the names of God into the harmonic of who we are through the language of light. World without end, universe without end, house of many mansions without end, immortal soul without end. That's our calling card. Where are we coming from? the heavens and the human evolution. And where are we going? Into the new heavens, with new reality, with new being, with new energy, and new music upon our lips. The cosmic Christ, the cosmic Divine Mother, the cosmic Father of all fatherhoods is with us. But it's up to each of us now to be the prayer and the praise, be the song and the sign of the gathering. And so it is, and will be. The four amens are on our lips. Amen, 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 and amen. Are some of our books, for those who are interested, this is Sophia, the Lost Teachings of Jesus and his
So
disciples.
keysofenoch.eu
My dynamics,
or keysofenoch.com.
SRI research with government scientists. The names of the Divine Mother are work in Egypt, Giza's industrial complex. Other books going into the paraphysical, the metaphysical, and the linguistic. This is the beginning of a whole library of information.
And some of our
Also,
music.
singers throughout the world who have gained prominence are joining us now with the songs and celebration from one part of the world to the other. But your song is the most important, so be blessed.
So we'll turn this over to Dr. Sam.
Dr. Sam wanted us to stop at 7:30, which is fine. But this is just a taste of honey. You go to our websites or follow us in Europe at our conferences on keysofenoch.org or EU.org. You will find we are speaking in all parts of the world, from the top of Scandinavia to Italy, throughout Bosnia and neighboring countries, Poland, even Russia. In the future, we work together as a team because we have come to be a team. No excuses.
Dr. Sam, tell us what we're doing next.
So now you realize why I wanted to have such a distinguished guest
Yeah.
here to bring their energy to Bosnian Pyramid energy. They have sophisticated displays. This was an inspirational journey from the subterranean realms to all continents, different sites, all the way to the Mars and back. From Giza of Enoch, Giza Industrial Complex, to their more recent work. And we realized that one of the messages is that without the vibrations, without the music, what we have here behind us are just dead stones. People were about the energy, about the vibrations, about the frequencies, and about our aim to raise our consciousness, and they have done great work there. This was not a lecture about the past, but about our future. Thank you very much.